Hi, welcome to my Sew It Saturday. Today's going to be a little bit different because I am going to tell you some sewing tips and tricks to help you out, because on some sites that I've been on, I have recently seen people ask questions about how they can wind, why their bobbin's not winding the whole bobbin, and about needles, how long you should keep them, and what do you do, and how to clean your machine, and various types of questions. So I'm going to help you with some of those things today and give you some tricks, and I'm going to show you something really cool that I made. I had said something about it in my last video, but I'm going to show you how I did it in this video. So let's get to it, shall we? So the first thing I want to tell you is my air might come on, and you might have trouble hearing me. And if you know me, you know I'm a goof, so I would say something like that, but y'all just, I'll try not to let that override me. My mic is over there. I don't have a lapel mic. So I hope you can hear me as it is. But for the first thing, I will tell you, you will need a designated sewing space. I think that would work best for anybody. I've been at places where I've had to put my machine on my kitchen table, and I've also had a place for my machine. Nothing like I have now. It was a work in progress to get this far, but I felt like putting my machine up all the time and having to drag it back out got a little old, and I didn't really want to sew, okay? So my designated area for a long time, and this is kind of funny, but it worked for me. I've always had a small space. I keep looking down to make sure I'm still recording. But those little wooden side tables from Walmart, or their TV trays, I think they're called, they just fold out. I've had my sewing machine on those before for a while, just so I wouldn't have to get it in and out, okay? And that seemed to work for me. So with that being said, of having the little table, with my little table, you're gonna need something to store your stuff in, okay? Because you can't just use a machine. You have to have scissors and things like that. I had a plastic storage tote cart thing beside me. My daughter has a metal one that she got at Michael's, or I know you can get them at Michael's. You can order them from Amazon, but they're just little metal carts. You can hang things on the sides. You can do whatever with those. They're very nice. You can also get a sewing box. Now, I have one at Walmart. Okay, let me see. Let me pull it up and see. Yep, right there. Most Walmarts have these, okay? Let me see if I can get my phone in there. $20 around there. I hope that's focused. And you have a little sewing box, okay? But that's $20. So to save money, okay, Dollar Tree has these little containers, and Walmart has these containers in their Walmart. In their Walmart, in their makeup spot. They have they look the same. In their hair accessories, some Walmarts have been in their hair accessories, some is in their makeup part. But these came from Dollar Tree, and I went in the other day and they have these, but they're solid on the bottom and they're glitter tops, but still same thing. So in this, I use this for traveling when I go to the church or my daughters or whatever. This is what I hold my bobbins in here. This is so funny. This is very unconventional, but it's an ice cube tray. A silicone ice cube tray. My bobbins fit perfect in there. So I put my bobbins in that. You will need your fabric scissors. I have my snippers. Look, I have extra needles. You can keep them in the needle cases. I have a magnetic needle holder or pin holder. And on the bottom, everything is stuck to it. But there's my safety pins as well that I use for stringing. And I even have an extra seam ripper and a screwdriver. So these things will hold quite a bit of stuff, and they are excellent for storing right on your table beside your machine. They're really, really good. $1.25. Fill it with what you have, what you want in there. And with that being said, let's talk about bobbin cases. You saw me with the ice tray. Singer has these bobbin cases, and they're nice. Don't get me wrong, they're nice. But I have dropped these, okay, and busted them for one. And then my bobbins went everywhere, and I had to collect my bobbins. I keep these right beside my drawer. This has my vintage bobbins in it. I grabbed it, but I don't like those. Personally, I like these rubber rings, okay? I have these in my Amazon store. However you can store your bobbins to keep them from falling all over, you need a bobbin storage, okay? I personally, like I said, like these. So, when we're talking about bobbins, okay, let me just go ahead and tell you. I pre-wind extra blacks and extra whites because, more so white than black, but when I'm sewing, excuse me, I'll use more white than I do black. But there's nothing I hate more than to be sewing and you run out of bobbin and you have to undo your whole thread on your machine to wind another bobbin. And to me, that gets on my nerves. I just have them handy. I just flip my cover, pop the bobbin out, pop the new one in, and I'm good to go. So I always pre-wind bobbins, and I always have extra thread. So when I go to the store, when I know I'm getting low, I'll pick up extra ones of these and keep these on hand because I always need white and I have extra blacks. So it's handy to have extras. A lot of times I buy thread online sometimes, and I like to buy bigger spools. These I get at Walmart. These I get at, I order them online. I go to Walk. I'll put the link in the description because you won't even know what I'm talking about. Some of you may know if you sew. But when you buy bigger cones like this, they don't sit on your machine very well. So I take a cup, okay, and I'll put my thread down in the cup. Now I got the bigger cup for the bigger spool. You can use jars, but they will stay in your cup, and then you just set them behind your machine or beside your machine and thread it through your machine as you would your regular thread. And these are, I just, more bang for my buck, you know. So that's a tip. If you have bigger cones, use a cup, a jar, whatever you have to stick it down in. Tin can. Make sure there's no snags on it, because if it hangs your thread, it can break your needle. So just anything that it can come out just to hold your spool so it don't get to flopping around all over your table. So it was asked, or it was said, I'm just using this machine, when you wind a bobbin, why is your bobbin not winding all the way? So when you get a new machine, these are preset, of course. You know, you put your bobbin on there and you go to the side. These are preset. So what you do is you put your bobbin on here, and let me grab a bobbin, and I'm going to show you a trick that helps me thread my bobbin, okay? Now you can leave your, well, that didn't work. You can leave this one on because it's not gonna move. This, when you flick this over, it'll stop it. It won't let it go. So when I thread my bobbin, I think I've showed this before, but I'm not sure, but I've got a lot of new ones, new subscribers, thank you. So with that being said, I'm going to show you again. If you've seen it, skip me, I don't know. I like to take my thread, okay, and I'll take my thread in, and I hope you can see this, and I'll go from the inside of the bobbin, okay, and I'll put that through one of the holes here, and then I'll pull that over top. Sorry, I can't see. I'll pull it over top of that hole. All right. Then I'll take this and I'll hold it and slide it over so that it catches. And it's coming through the middle so that I don't have to worry about it coming through here. And I mean, it can, but it's not likely to wind around this spool thing. I don't know what it's called. And it'll wind around this bobbin because it's on the inside, see? So then you click this over. So when you start winding your bobbin, this is hitting right, I mean like right in the middle of my bobbin thing. Now most of the time you'll be winding your bobbin when you do this. So what you do is you take a screwdriver and you loosen this little screw. There'll be a screw in here. Now this can go tighter. Let me show you. Oh goodness, let me try to show you. You can barely see. This will be tighter and then that'll be looser. You adjust it to where you want your bobbin to stop. Now you never want your bobbin thread outside of your sides of your bobbin, your ends of your bobbin. You don't want it protruding. It will not fit down in your bobbin case. So all you do is adjust that and wind your bobbin until you want your bobbin to stop, and then tighten that screw right back down. And that'll give you more on your bobbin, okay? That's how you get more thread on your bobbin. So now that I have the machine here, I'm gonna tell you, most new machines already have an LED light, but if you don't have an LED light, you will want one. Trust me. An LED light is so much better when you're sewing because you can see so much better. So I buy my LED lights wherever they went, from Amazon. Now your machine can have the screw base, which is what the new ones normally have, or it'll have two dots on the side and it'll be flat, and you put it and push it in and twist it. You'll know when you take your bulb out to take it with you, you have to have the right size. Some of these I've got have been too short and they won't screw in, but they do sell these at Hobby Lobby. I think it's a Singer brand, I'm not sure, but I buy mine from Amazon, and I think I have several linked in my Amazon store. But I always change my light bulbs out and make sure they're LEDs so I can see, because I have trouble seeing anyway. If you've been with me long enough, you know I can't see. Most of the automatic threaders, people don't know how to use them, okay? They're very simple once you get the hang of it. But when I get my thread through there, I like to use a small crochet hook. That is like teeny tiny. And when it pulls your thread back through, you'll have a loop. Well, when you start pulling this loop with your fingers, all your thread starts coming off your spool, and it's a waste of thread. So I'll take this and I'll go behind it and I'll hook the thread and pull it out. I'll show you how I do that as well. Of course my heat is on, but you're right here at my mouth, so I may sound different. I'm trying to be quiet, okay? This will work better. And this is one that has the pull down to thread your needle, which is what a lot of them have, and people don't know how to use. So make sure your needle, turn it whichever way your machine turns, usually towards you. Make sure your needle is in the highest position. Then what you're going to do is make sure it's in this little loop right here where it should be. And you'll see when you pull this down, this little hook right here, make sure you go behind that hook with your thread. Okay, now when you go behind that hook with your thread, there is a little piece that comes through this needle hole. That's why you got to have it in the highest position. It works better. Pull that through, push that through. You'll hear it. You'll hear it go through. Now you'll take your thread, and there's a little notch right here. Put it underneath the notch. Okay. Oh shoot, you can't see. Let me pull it up. See, it's underneath the notch. And you have to pull up when you do this. So make sure that your thing is all the way through, and when you pull it through, look, I have a little loop back there. Okay, so now the reason I use this crochet hook is I will go through, catch that loop, and pull, and now my machine is threaded. Okay, let me show you something else while I have you down here, because I know I'll eventually get this question if you see me sewing a lot. So I have these magnets, and all I did was put washi tape on these. I'm pretty sure that I got these at Walmart. I may have got them at Hobby Lobby. I'm not sure. Well, I have two different sizes. I have a smaller one. Now you can get by with just getting these, or you can get by with just getting the smaller ones. But I wanted the bigger ones. The smaller ones would work, and I'll show you why. When I'm sewing and I have pins, I'll just slide them over. See what I'm saying? And at the end of it, you can just collect your pins. The reason I have one on top is because, and now I don't like doing strong magnets on my computerized sewing machines because I've heard it can tear it up. But when you're doing this and you're sewing and you're pulling your pins out while you sew, then all I have to do is pick this up and take it to my machine, or take it to my pin cushion, and then just put those right back in my pin cushion to use later. And you're just going back and forth. It was a whole lot better than putting this on my machine. When I had it over there, it got in my way. This is a better option. So anyways, but that works perfect. So one of these stay in my little sewing compartment back there. And then to clean your machine, as you can tell, this one's well used. I like to use a pipe cleaner. You don't have to have it on a coffee stir stick. You just take a pipe cleaner, bend it in half, and then when you start cleaning the fuzz and lint out of your machine, it picks up all of that stuff, threads, lint, dirt, and pulls it right out. And all you do is flick it and knock the dust off. Go back at it until you get all that lint and stuff out of your machine. It is very important to keep your machines clean. If you don't take care of them, they will not work for you. Okay? That's just the bottom line. You have to take care of your machines. How often do you change needles? When it starts sewing funny, or after so long, you'll know it'll start hanging. If you don't change them, they'll get a burr on them, and they will rip through your fabrics a lot of times, or you'll have skip stitches or whatever. I don't have a designated time when I change my needle. I pretty much have been sewing long enough. I know when my needle's bad. It doesn't sew right for me. I'll hear a sound and I don't recognize that sound, and I know something's not right, and normally it's my needle. Okay, so I know when to change mine. You'll figure it out once you start sewing. I'm sorry I can't help you more with that, but okay. So I have seen where people have asked the question and had the problem, why does my thread draw back up when I start to sew? What the problem there is, when a lot of these machines, you have to, when you thread it or when you are sewing and you cut your thread off, pull it to the back some. If you don't have enough pulled to the back of your needle, when your needle goes down, it's going to draw that and rip it right out of the needle. So that's why your thread is coming out of your needle, because you don't have it pulled back far enough. These machines are very picky, and they have to have the thread back there a pretty good ways. So that's why your thread is drawing up. So that will fix that issue. When it comes to scissors, I always say this every time I sew, every time I do a video. I have my thread scissors, my material scissors. Okay, I'll have my material scissors that never touch my patterns or my paper or anything. I have 4 pairs of scissors right down here at my disposal, and they're all for fabric. Okay, and then I have my paper cutting, my pattern cutting scissors. A lot of times I'll use these because it's just easier for me to take shorter cuts as longer cuts when I'm going around my patterns. But you need 2 different pairs of scissors, one for fabric and one for your patterns and your paper. You'll benefit out of the issue, trust me, because sharpening a pair of scissors is not, a good pair is not cheap, okay? So you'll need 2 pairs of scissors. Off. This is one of the Dollar Tree finger grippers, okay? And don't diss on the Dollar Tree. They are vamping up their sewing stuff. This is the Clover Seam Ripper. This is one of the best in my opinion. It's the sharpest. And all I done was take this finger gripper and put it over the end of my seam ripper. It fits like a dream. And this is the best stitch eraser. So when you have ripped your seams out, because you will mess up. It happens. You just take this and go over your stitches and it pulls all those loose threads out. I absolutely love this better than the other one. Honestly, I love this. And this is my favorite seam ripper. So when I get another one, all I gotta do is take it off and put it on the other one. And I always have it. Another tip that I have mentioned that I don't mind sharing is I use these flexible cutting mats as patterns, because there's some that I just like to draw around, okay? I prefer these. They're easy to cut. You can cut them with a cutting machine if I can figure out my settings. I'm sure the new Cricut, if you have one of those, would do it with no problem. But I get these at the Dollar Tree. They come 2 in a pack. So I pick these up when I go to the Dollar Tree. Like I said, there's things, think outside of the box. There's lots of containers at the Dollar Tree. There's a lot of sewing supplies at the Dollar Tree now. So that is not a place to skip out on for sewing and storage. So I do use these for pattern purposes. 2 tips that are very important, okay, is make sure you always pre-wash your fabrics, especially cottons. But if you don't pre-wash your fabric, like if you make, somebody commented on my bowl cozies, I do pre-wash my fabrics. Sometimes I sew things for you and I throw it away when I'm done, because it's just, you know, 1 is trial and error, and 2 is because I didn't pre-wash. I just got it and I have to get the video done. So, but if it's anything that I'm selling or anything like that, I pre-wash, because just take a bow cozy for instance. When you sew that and you got all your stitches in there and you got it put together, they get dirty. So when you throw them in the washer and wash them, that fabric shrinks and then you'll never get it back out. It bunches. They bunch anyway because of the cotton batting on the inside, but it'll just bunch up. If you make a garment, it'll shrink. Your stitches may pop. You never know. So always pre-wash your fabrics. You'll thank me in the end. Another tip that I always stress, I don't care what video tip I make, do not sew over your needles. I have seen people doing this recently in videos. They'll just leave their thin needles in there, glass head pins. You can iron over those, so they'll just leave them in. I personally have had my needle hit the pin and it break the needle, and one part went flying off and it went under my glasses and stuck in under my eye. If I didn't have glasses, it could have went in my eye. That stopped me right there. I used to sew over my needles. I actually taught when I first started doing YouTube videos to sew over your needles. But when that happened to me, don't do it. It can also, I did it on my embroidery machine, because it's a sewing machine as well. And when I hit the needle, it bent my shaft. They don't make machines like they used to. So it bent my shaft. That was a $200 service charge and $100 to replace the shaft. So $300 later, I got my machine back and it sews right. But it's a lesson I learned. I do not sew over my needles anymore. Okay. And another thing, people ask, how do you sew over thicker fabrics or jeans? I highly recommend a vintage machine that's made of metal. A lot of times all you need is a straight stitch. I do have a Singer 401A that zigzags. I have a Pfaff that zigzags, but it needs worked on. But if you, thank God my air shut off. Now I can quit trying to yell. But a vintage machine is made of metal and no go through anything. So to sew thicker fabrics, I prefer to sew on my vintage machines. If I'm doing, like if I sew a card wallet, it has thicker. If I make my skirts, if I sew pot holders or things that are thicker, I'd rather have a vintage machine. So to sew thicker fabrics, a vintage machine. And you might think, well, I can't afford that. I didn't say go out and get a $500-$600 Singer featherweight. You don't have to have that. I got that one for free, actually. A lady was moving and my pastor got it from her. He was helping her move. It was a teacher friend of his wife and them. And anyway, that's not the point. I got the machine. He gave it to me. I oiled it up. I know how to unstick them. I can work on them somewhat, but I unstuck it. Most time they just need oiled and a good cleaning. And I did that and it works perfect. So my Singer 401A was gifted to me. I have been at thrift stores and saw them and picked them up. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and get them cheap most of the time, unless someone's just trying to be ridiculous. I would never pay over $50 for a vintage machine unless it was in the cabinet. But most of the time, my vintage machines are in cabinets, and I pay $50. I paid $50 for both of the ones that I have, and they sew great. I did pay $75 for a vintage machine at a vintage mall. But it was a coffin. It was a specific type, and that's why I paid that much for it. But even at a vintage store, I don't pay over $50 for a vintage machine. That's just me. Now, the featherweights are more expensive, and that's just because that's the type of machine they are. I wish I could get a featherweight. I would love a featherweight just because I love vintage machines, and that is just my dream machine. But anyway, I'm not paying that for a featherweight. But those are my tips right there. Okay, so I know last week you saw me using my little magnetic things here, okay? I have these in someone asked about them. I do have them linked in my Amazon store. All right, now everybody knows I like my ruler here. I love this ruler. Since it has this grip on it, I had to buy some extra heavyweight and add 4 of them. I used a E6000 type of glue to glue these on this ruler. Now, if you have, let me get my plastic ruler, okay, and show you. If you have just your plastic grid, all you have to do, these are 80-pound weights, is take a couple of those, and it's not really gonna go anywhere, okay? So what this does is it allows you to use your ruler, and you know how you have to put your hand. I seen this, okay? I'm not gonna lie, I seen this. $375, $370 something for this system, and the mat wasn't this big. Okay, trust me, this is a money saver right here. And I'm not selling these, so I just thought about this, and I thought, what could I get to do this? So instead of moving your hand and then moving your hand, you can just take and rip right through it, and this is not going anywhere. I've used pattern weights in the past, and they're so heavy. It's just, I don't like them. But I barely use this one right here, okay? So let me put that over here. So I do use this one. I bought some that didn't have their 40 weight, and they didn't have anything on them. So I went to Walmart, and don't stick them together. I went to Walmart and bought these handles, and I screwed the handles in because they have a screw hole, and I screwed the handles in. So if you can't grip these, you can actually put bigger handles on them. You know, that's up to you. But this is the coolest thing. So these magnet weights are supposed to be 70 pounds. I personally could have used one that was 200 and something pounds, I think. You can get different magnets, but I will have all these listed in my Amazon store. So what you do is, I'm going to show you. I have batting and I have fabric. Okay? So if I want to cut this out and I want to cut a line, I will take this and just put it on the line. Now that's going to guarantee me my fabric's not really moving. You see what I'm saying? Now the further up I have it, the better off I am. Now, I take my rotary cutter and I simply cut my fabric, and I don't have to worry about that moving as much as I did. The main thing I like about it is I like to use my plastic patterns. So just say, this is going to be loud, that I have this. Where's my junky scissors? Okay. So if I have a pattern cut out on here, alright, you seen me do this last week. Sorry for all the racket. So this will be my pattern sheet. So if I have my fabric under here and I want to draw on this, I'll just take my pattern pieces and I'll take my weights and I'll hold my pattern down, and I'm able to take my marker or my pencil and draw right around that, and I don't have to hold it. You see what I'm saying? These are so much better than pattern weights, in my opinion. I actually loved this system, so that's why I did it. So what I did is, I have my magnets, okay? Now if you have a pacemaker, you obviously cannot do this. So I have my magnets, and they are on, that thing sticks, they are on a metal sheet that is under my board. Okay, let me pull this down. Oh, I'm pulling the sheet with me. Let me pull it like this. See this magnet, this metal sheet right here? This is a metal sheet from Lowe's, and it is the same size as my cutting space on my mat. And all it is a metal sheet. You type in sheet metal, and it is about $15 at Lowe's. And I couldn't find this at Home Depot this size. You might can, I don't know. And I took a little bit of paper tape. This will cut you, okay? You have to wear gloves when you use this. Even when you get it at the store, you have to be very careful. I mean, I toted it, but you have to be very careful. This will slit your hand wide open. It is sharp metal. So I put paper tape. You can use, now you have to have strong paper tape. Painter's tape won't work. Duct tape, small tape, whatever. Put that tape around your edges so that you do not get cut, and lay your mat on your, I know why it won't move, because I got my magnets on it. I'm so goofy. But anyways, now I have a magnetic mat. This is one of the not cute, good Lord, I say that so much. This is one of the greatest ideas that I have ever seen. And so this is how you can make your magnetic mat. And the mats, you don't have to have one this big. You can get smaller pieces of sheet metal if you don't have a mat this big. But this was a 24, let me see, 24 by 30, what did I have here? I took a picture. 24 by 36 inch steel solid sheet metal. Okay? Solid steel sheet metal. And it was $14.48. So if you have this sheet metal at Lowe's, you're able to make one of these. Or you can use smaller sheet metal. So what, $15? $15 plus your mat. This one's $36. So you got $15, $36, and then these magnets are less than $20. So that's your mat. Compared to $3.75, I think I'll take this option. I really do. And like I said, I wouldn't have to have these many magnets if I had a stronger magnet, or if I had it on the other one. You can glue these on there. When they come like this, these would be easier to glue down. But anyways, that's how you make a magnetic mat. Or that's how I made a magnetic mat. So that was my jam-packed ticks and trips. What do you say? Tricks and tips. Yeah, tricks and tips. Y'all, it's been, you know me, I'm always backwards. But anyway, I hope you got some value out of this. Maybe a laugh or two, I don't know. I have to give a few shout outs, okay? Because I received super thanks for Christmas from Robin. She knows who she is. She is so sweet. I love her to death. I have some of the best subscribers, I'll just tell y'all. So that was much appreciated. And then I had, I hope I don't mess this up, Krista Montoya. She gave a super thanks just for posting a video. That was a shock to me, but I do appreciate that as well. It doesn't go unnoticed, trust me. And then I had a Trisha, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, D. That's all it is, Trisha D. She bought me 3 craft supplies on Buy Me a Coffee. And that was unexpected, and I appreciate that so much. Y'all have no idea what a blessing you are to me. And if anybody has sent any mail, don't be offended because I have not went down there. I very rarely check my mail because I really don't like to leave my house. I don't go anywhere, and it's right down the road. That's so sad. But I haven't been down there, so anyways, plus I hardly ever get anything, so it's no bother. But I just want to say thank you again. Y'all are a blessing to me. You really, really are. You don't know how much you mean to me. I couldn't be me and do what I do without you. So with that being said, until next time, goodbye.